But you should be able to meet yourself, like I said, and just for anyone that doesn't know you, just kind of give us a little bit of your story and then we can go from there.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. I already like ran out of internet. So if you're new around here, we are currently living in a camper because our house is being built and our other house sold. So we have to live in a camper for a few weeks. So my internet, I'm already like going over, so it's charging us extras. I was like, well, that didn't work out. But anyways, yeah, my name is Cortney Vogel. So you guys, I started this business 6 years ago, which is just absolutely insane. Time flies by. I remember when I started and people were like, yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years. And I was like, whoa, like that's insane. And then now I'm here. So time just goes so dang quick. But before this business, so I was 19. I had just started college. I was working two jobs. I was basically just living your broke college student life. I was living with my parents. I couldn't afford to move out. I really wanted to. I just didn't have the money to. And I literally worked all the time, every single weekend, on holidays. I worked at a nursing home. So those are, if you ever work in anything in the healthcare, you don't get those days off. And so I worked all the time, missed out on vacays and all the things. And I just remember like still never having money. And I was like, this sucks. Like, is this just how life is supposed to be? Like, I'm spending literally all my time, all my days missing out on memories and things that I'll never get back for something that's still leaving me struggling to pay my bills. And so it just didn't make sense to me. So, anyways, I ended up following Ashley Mirth on Instagram and I watched her for several weeks, but I had all of the same fears that a lot of us do, being from a small town, being shy, not knowing a dang single thing about this or anything like that. And so I watched her. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm in a crap situation. It probably can't get worse at this point. So why don't I just give it a try and we'll see? And I'm one of those people that like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to give it all I got. I went into this with a really good mindset, mainly just because I knew that it was going to take time. I knew that a business is a business and it doesn't take off overnight. So I knew it would take consistency and things like that. So I think going in with a good mindset was really helpful for me just because I didn't have a fast start. You see some of these people join and they promote in 2 seconds, and that wasn't me at all. My first month, I barely enrolled my first 4 customers, mainly because Ashley was new. I was new. I wasn't doing the things she was telling me to do. And so I was just posting, I was doing the things, but I was just still very like scared to kind of just go for it. And then my second month came around and it was actually one of these calls. I got on a call, was listening to this girl and she was making over $17,000 a month. And I was like, that's insane. And so I really caught the vision and I was like, okay, I should obviously be doing the things that these people are doing. So wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel anymore. And I just started doing the things they were telling me to, and things started to really take off. So within 3 months, I remember I was able to quit both of my jobs and I ended up signing a lease to move to Columbia, Missouri, which is where I live now. And I applied to the university here. And so I was able to move out of my parents, which was like a huge thing for me just because I still wasn't in a position where I could pay all my bills with this. So I moved, got a job for 2 days at Applebee's, freaking hated it, quit. And you guys, I've not had a job ever since that day. Ever since that freaking Applebee's job, never have looked back. And I remember the girl training me was like, yeah, I literally make no money here. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not staying here. I'm like, I have this business opportunity that I know I can do big things with. So we don't quit. And I was so nervous, but I was also kind of like, okay, this is like what I have to make work at this point. And I was already like, I can't talk. I already had caught the vision as far as like where you can kind of take it. So things just really started to escalate from there. So I went diamond. I was 19 years old, got that $10,000 bonus. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I can go diamond, why can't I double diamond? So then I went double and then I went triple, then I went prez. And then at my 1 year mark, I hit presidential. 2 year mark hit ambassador diamond. So went from literally wanting a couple extra $100 to over $32,000 a month in just 2 years, which was just absolutely insane at 20 years old, you guys. It was so crazy. And it was like one of those things where I just kept wanting more. I was just like, I have my hands on something where there's no limit. And to me, that was like huge because it's so rare. Like, where can you find that? And so I really just became addicted to it and I loved it. And throughout those times, it was really hard. I had really hard times and really good times. And, I went through all the things that we all go through, but I just kept pushing. And then, so now we went double ambassador in March. What month was that? I don't even remember, you guys. March. I think we went double ambassador in March, and which was crazy. So we hit the top of the company 2 times now, which is crazy. I wanted $200. So if you're on here and you're new and you're like, yeah, I that won't be me. You just never freaking know, you guys, because seriously, once you just realize what you have your hands on and realize how special it is, I mean, literally there's no limit. The sky is the limit. And so it's like, why not push yourself? Why not do big things? Because you can, you know, we have the opportunity and the car that can allow us to get there. And so yeah, so now we are 6 years later, you guys, and this business has changed my life in so many ways. Like I said, I've not had a job since that Applebee's job. I've been my own boss. I paid my way through college every single semester, which was huge for me. Paid for my wedding last September, almost a year ago, in cash, which was crazy. I didn't have to ask my parents for a dime. And now we're currently building our dream house, which is just absolutely just insane. Still hasn't hit me. And we're living in a camper right now, and I freaking love it though. I'm like, this is just an adventure, you know, this is just part of the story. So, and we're just getting started, you guys. That's what something about this company is, that it's always evolving, and I never get bored with it, because they're always staying on top of things. They're always just making sure that we're on trend and that they're doing the most that they can to allow us to continue to just grow forward. And I think that's why it's been so exciting, and it hasn't gotten boring for me within the last 6 years. And I just feel like there's just so much growth to come. So that's where we're at now.
I love that so much. That was seriously so good. But I think it's crazy because like you were talking about this and I was journaling this morning, and one of the journal prompts that I did was like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And like, you know, like we always say that, but I like literally wrote out and I was like, okay, I'm going to be 26 turning 27. And I was like, okay, wow. And I was like, I will literally be going on 8 years with this business. And I like literally started bawling. I was like, oh my God, like it was crazy. And I like started thinking about it, and I was like, I am this far into the journey, like this far, like for the rest of my freaking life. And like it literally was like I had like a total like moment where I was like, whoa, because I was just thinking about it. But it's just so crazy. And then I think about you and Jade and Ashley and all these people that have been in this business for 5+ years, and I'm like, I like it just like literally gives me chills. Like it's just crazy to think about. But I just want to go right into the questions because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I really wanted to get Court on here tonight and just kind of talk to us just kind of about like creating leadership. Like I don't know the right type of word for that, but obviously she's double ambassador. She's one of the ambassador, or you were the first ambassador 2.0, right? Yeah, so this girl knows how to do it. Okay, she enrolled Shay enrolled me. Literally, it all started from Court. So I just really wanted to get her on and just kind of talk about how she creates leaders within her team. Just because, I mean, obviously we're going presidential next month, you guys, like hello. And I know we have like tons of promotions that we're all trying to hit. So figured she'd be the best person to hop on and just pour into us. But the first question I really wanted to ask you was, how do you launch your new distributors? Like, what is your rhyme of rhythm? Can you use the word?
Yeah, so I really just try to keep it super simple, and I really try to just build a relationship with my people. I know so many times, I mean, I just remember being so scared when I got started. I was like, I have no idea what I was doing, but Ashley just made me feel so comfortable. So that's like the number one thing I go into with my new distributors. I'm like, I just want them to feel so good about the decision that they're making. So for example, I enrolled a distributor today, and, you know, I just talked to her. I was like, you know, where are you from? Like, why do you want this kind of thing? Like, what are your kids' names? You know, and I just really get to know them and just kind of open up just a little bit about me, so they kind of get on that level of just like trust. So that way they just feel comfortable with me. That way if they get nervous or whatever it is, like they feel comfortable enough to come to me and just talk to me. So at first I really just try to get to know them a little bit. And then throughout, you know, I just like ask questions, like personal questions like that throughout while I'm like training them and sending them things. So the first thing I do is I always have them log into their eSuite, fill out their form, and then I always have them add themselves to the Diamond Tribe T page, Jade's page, and then the Post for Customers page. So I get them on those pages, and then I always have them watch Nicole. I don't know if you guys have Nicole Hassinger's, I might be saying her last name wrong, her new distributor training, but I've been sending that because her training is very good. It plays multiple times throughout the day. And so I always send them that training, and I have them start with that because she pumps like everyone that has watched that. It like messages me and they're like, okay, I'm really excited after they watch that. So I've been having them watch that. And then once we do that, I always just send them, I'm like, okay, do you have your website? Just check that out, you know, look around, just see what we have. And then I go ahead and I go over the loyal customer program. So I just make sure that they understand that really well. And then I go over their first goal of enrolling 6 loyal customers. And then once I go over that, I don't have them make their dirt list right away. What I do is I actually have them, I say, okay, now I'm going to send you some posts to put up on your stories. So I send them several posts to put up on the stories. They're like coffee posts. It's like a picture of the coffee, a couple before and after pictures, and saying they're looking for product testers. And then I also have them put up a post on their Facebook wall saying that, like the TFX host post basically, but saying I'm looking for 2 people that want to lose this amount of weight and, 30 pounds in 90 days or whatever. So I have them do that. And then the reason I'm doing this is because they're already having to get a little uncomfortable and put it out to the world that they're doing this on stories and on their page. And so that way, when I'm like, okay, let's make the list, they've already put themselves out there so that I feel like they're more willing to almost do it. And so then I'm like, okay, let's make your list. And then I send them that message to start sending it out. And also I like doing like the status like that in the stories because they do start to a lot of times get a couple responses. And I think that makes them really excited. So always have them do that. And then we get them started on just sending out messages to their friends and family. And then I just walk them through it. And I am the person, like, I like to like calm their fears or calm things before they can even happen. So to kind of give like an example, I know a lot of times when we first send out messages, we'll have that one or two people that are like instantly are like, nope, you're doing that, like shut it down kind of thing. So literally I voice message and I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know, as you're sending out these messages, not everyone's going to be supportive. And that's totally okay. That's perfectly fine. They're just not familiar with what we have our hands on. But I just like to be upfront with everyone just because I don't want that to let you get don't want that to get you down. But I'm so excited. Let's do this. We're going to get you your 6 customers. So basically I just kind of pump them up, calm their fears before they can even happen. So if it happens, they're not just like, oh my gosh, nope, can't do this kind of thing. So we do that. And then once we start working on their first 6 customers, I make a huge deal when they get their first customer and their second, actually each customer they get, I like make a big deal about it. So the reason I do this is because we want them to feel so special because they're like, am I doing this right? I don't know what I'm doing, like blah, blah, blah. So basically we get to be like their hype person. So I'm hyping them up. I'm sending them 5 different GIFs. I'm like, you're amazing. Like, that's amazing. Like if you can enroll one person, you can enroll endless amount of people. So basically I'm putting like those positive thoughts in their mind so that they believe that because they're like, oh wow, this girl thinks I'm amazing and whatever I'm doing is working, so I'm going to keep doing it kind of thing. So hype your people up. It's as simple as literally hyping them up, calming their fears, building that relationship with them, and really just getting to know them on that personal level. Once we get their first 6 customers, that's when I get them going on Ruby. And what I also do is when they're sending out their messages to people, I say every single person that you message, we're going to get them to do something for you. Whether that's be a customer. If they say they don't have money, we're going to ask them to be a distributor. If they can't be a distributor, we're going to ask them to put a post up on their wall for you. So every person they're coming in contact with, they're going to get something out of them. So that's what I do as well when they're sending out those messages. But when I go over Ruby with them, I always try to I first send them a video. Literally, it's me filming a Ruby chart and I'm just like, okay, this is a Ruby chart. And I try to keep it so simple, you guys. It's like, so like, what's the word? Jade always called it like stupid simple. Like it's so simple. It's almost like stupid. That's literally what I try to do because I don't want to overwhelm them. So I make this Ruby video so simple. I'm like, okay, this is you. This is what you need for Ruby. And then once we go over the Ruby chart, I send them a message and I help them get started on life posts. And I talk about consistency and why they're going to post about the opportunity every single day. And also I kind of like talk them into us like, saying like, why do you want this business? I have them say that out loud to me. And I'm like, well, listen, there are so many people out there that also want this business for that same exact reason. And you're going to be that person that gets to be a blessing to someone else and their family. And so let's go find those people. And so really from there, I'm just getting them into a really good routine. And I'm really staying close to my people, especially their first 2 to 3 weeks in the business until I feel like, okay, they're like good to go. I always like to think of it as like, they're like a baby bird in a nest. And you have to like feed them and they have to grow up a little bit before you just let them out of the nest. And so treat your people like they're a baby until you feel comfortable enough to kind of let them go on their own. So that's what I do. And the key is I just try to stay simple and really stay in contact with them. I want them to know I'm here for them. So I'm messaging them, I'm voice messaging them, and I'm talking to them more about like I said, than just the business, and their first couple of days I'm just first week or so, I'm making sure they just have the things to post and that they're staying on top of consistency because it does take 21 days to create a habit. So let's help them get them into that really good habit, because a lot of people, if they just don't know what to do, they just don't do it. You know, how many times do you just like almost don't know what to do, so you like get paralyzed in fear because you're like, I just don't know what to do. So I just want to make sure they get into a really good routine with that. So that's pretty much it. And I do that with every single person. That's what I've always done. And then I just duplicate that and duplicate that and duplicate that. And then that's always the key, is you want to make your system so duplicatable, and you want to fall in love with it. Because I don't know about you guys, if there's any of you guys who are literally almost scared to enroll distributors because you're like, I don't know how to train them once they get started. If you've ever felt that way, it's because you're probably not in love with the system that you have and you don't feel confident in it. So find a system that you just love to do, that you love to teach. Because if you don't, and you feel like you're not good at training people, you're not going to enroll people, because you have that like thought in your mind. So make sure you just like come up with that simple system that you really, really love.
Oh, I clicked the wrong button. I love that so much. And I love what you said about just like falling in love with that system too. Because I recently just kind of changed the way that I train my new distributors, like not change, but just like altered it, I guess. And like, I'm just in love with it, like you said. And like, that makes so much more sense, because I have DTs flocking to me now. And it's probably just the like manifestation of it all, because I am so excited to train them with this like little system that I made. And it just like literally is like all the positive vibes. Like that actually makes like so much sense. But I seriously love that, because I remember when we kind of like we did something with our training, and y'all know I'm super green, and I was like, I don't understand this. And I don't even think I enrolled any DTs that month. And I don't remember when this was, but Shay was like, what happened? And I was like, I don't like want to train them like this. And I was like, I don't like that. And she was like so funny. And I was like, I need to like figure out something that's going to work for me, because like I literally like was not signing people, and I had potentials, but I was not signing them because I was like negatively manifesting them to not enroll, which that is so crazy to think about. But that is how powerful the mind is, you guys. Self-development. End of
Yes.
story. Like I love that so much.
And I think too, like everyone's systems, like find what you do enjoy, because you might use mine or Shy's, system and not feel comfortable with it. So find a system that you really like, but just keep it super simple and get ideas from us and then make it into your own. But yeah, I 100% agree. It's such a mind thing for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you kind of answered this question a little bit when talking about how you launch new distributors, but obviously Ruby is so important, like all of it. So, and obviously, I think there's like a huge bonus for Rubies right now too, which is even crazier. So how do you actually work with your, I don't want to say new distributors, but how do you work with those emerging leaders as they are like promoting to Ruby? Do you like have a system for that? Like, how do you actually like do that, I guess?
Yeah. So I always do the video that I was talking about, where I send in the Ruby video, make sure they understand that, and then just get them into a good routine of posting. So after they enroll their first distributor, actually their first 3 distributors, until they're Ruby, I'm like not letting them go on their own. And this is a lot of work, you guys, but once you duplicate it throughout your team, it makes it a lot easier. But what I do is, so when they enroll their first distributor, I have them put me and them both in a chat, and I will send them in a separate text message what to send to these people. I want them to be saying all of it themselves, to act like it's coming from them, but I'm helping them train them, because I want that person that they enroll to think that they join someone that knows what they're talking about, and then I want them to be training them correctly. So basically, I'm just in this chat, and if I need to step in at any time and share something, and sometimes I'll share, just my 2 cents on something. But basically, I'm in this chat just overseeing and able to help them train their first person. And as soon as they have that first person, I'm making sure they're saving everything that I'm sending to them in their notes, because that is duplication. That's how they're going to duplicate that with the next person and the next person. They're going to send them that same exact thing, right? So make sure what you're doing is just very duplicatable, and that they're able to save it and make it into a system. So that's what I do with their first 3 distributors, is that I'm in those group conversations with them. And then that way, when that distributor, when they can start doing the same with their team. So basically, I'm just trying to make a super duplicatable system. But yeah, I just work very closely with them as far as like reaching out to them, making sure they're staying on top of their post, making sure they understand it. Cause I think a lot of times too, people get confused. And I've even found where people don't even like want to try to understand it, because they're relying on you so much. Do you ever feel that way? Like your team's like, you're like, hey, can you send me your chart? And you're like, they almost like don't even understand their chart because they're relying so much on you. That's not what you want. You want people to be doing it themselves. And so I have that all the time that I'm like, okay, you're probably not doing it because you're not understanding it. So really make sure they understand their chart, because if they don't, then they're just not going to be as intentional, because if you don't know exactly what you need, you're just not going to be as intentional. So, and when you have your chart in front of you, you know down to a T what you need, that's when you're going to work the hardest, because you know exactly what you're working towards. So really just making sure they understand everything. And I know there's like sometimes that awkward time where it's like they get their 6 customers and then it's like, okay, let's go over Ruby. And then they fall off the face of the earth. So I think that is a big time. Like that transition is also a time where you want to make sure that they are listening to good podcasts and getting on the team Zooms and willing to learn, because that's such a mindset thing. And it's like, I think that's where that like awkward transition is. It's like in their mind, they're like, okay, I enrolled those customers, but I'll never forget when Ashley was like, all right, Cortney, let's grow your team. And I was like, what? And if Ashley didn't tell me that she believed in me, that she knew I could do it, who knows if I ever would have, because in my mind at the time, I was like, I don't know if anyone's ever going to join my team. And so you want to just make sure you're kind of helping them grow in that part. And so I love Pam Souter's podcast. For one, she's so educational on the business, but also mindset. Like you're getting a mixture of both. So I send them like one podcast today, because I like to listen to one literally like almost every single day. And so I'll send them like a podcast and I'm like, hey, listen to this today, to really try to help develop their mind as well during that transition period. And that's something that I do that just really helps. But also, again, hyping them up, you guys, really for all the things they're doing. If you see someone posting really well, life posts every day, hype them up. Just let people know, how amazing they are, because once they believe that, that's everything. It is literally your mindset is just, as we know, it's literally everything. And so once they get their mind in that place and they truly believe that their team's going to start to grow, their team's going to start to grow. And so you can kind of just help with that, and help them start growing with that, if that all makes sense.
Yes, that was seriously so good. I love that. Because that was like one thing that I've like always been like, I guess like weird about. I'm like, do I like teach my new DTs like to develop their minds? Because like I don't really know. And so I love that you said that though, because like it's seriously so true. And just like instilling that belief in them, like that is literally the biggest thing. Because like I think about like whenever I had joined, and like I even went executive my first month, and I literally had no idea. I was just like, okay, like whatever. And I still like thought that I wasn't successful in everything, and I had quit or stopped working, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But if Shay wouldn't have called me and was like, look, sister, like we're gonna do this, like none of us may be here, and like that's crazy to think about. And it was seriously just because she just told me that she believed in me, and I was like, I mean, like, if you do, then, like, I guess, because, like, I don't know, because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I seriously love that so much. And I love how you said that too. Okay, so this is another question that we had, and I didn't know how to word this because it makes me, I feel like so rude whenever I say it, but when do you, like, stop checking in with a new distributor? Because, like, they go MIA. They fall off the face of the earth sometimes. So how do you, like, go along with that, basically?
Yeah. So the way that I look at it, you guys, is each of our time it's so valuable. Our time is very valuable, right? And so if someone's not showing respect towards that, then I'm not going to continue to just like try to drag someone along. And so I definitely check in several times with people. I send them a voice message. I will try to FaceTime them and really kind of calm their fears, say, hey girl, I know you must be freaking out because I haven't heard from you. So just kind of like call out like the elephant in the room and just be like, hey, is this going on? I felt that way too. So I just want to check in on you. And I do that several times before I'm just like, okay, I'm done. But know when to stop too, because I think there's a lot of times where people too are just like, oh yeah, I want it. Like, I'm going to work hard. And then it's like, you're constantly having to like, you want it to be them, but their words aren't showing in action. And so you just like keep continuing to like rely on them when they're not showing up. And so I think like do it, give everyone the benefit of the doubt and definitely check in with them. Like I said, call out the elephant in the room. But after like 3 to 4 times, if you're just getting absolutely nothing back, then go invest your time with someone who appreciates it. And don't drag people along, because I will tell you, if you drag people along, you're going to be dragging them along the whole entire way. And then eventually they're going to fall to the face of the earth and you're going to have to replace them with someone new. So learn when to let go of people and don't try to revive the dead. And that's going to make your business a whole lot more enjoyable, because remember that where you focus, that's what's going to happen in your life. So if you're only focusing on the people that aren't doing crap, that's what you're going to get. But if you focus on people that are intentional and are working and want to just do this, that's what you're going to get. So really just make sure you're checking where your focus is too, and don't get too stuck on people, because if you do, you're literally not going to enjoy your business. And it's a learning thing too. As you go along, it gets easier. It really does. Because at this point, I'm just like, okay, like on to the, if people aren't going to appreciate what I have to give them, then I'm going to go work with someone that is. And so it does get easier, but it's a really good lesson, and something just to kind of save you time now. Just definitely know when not to drag people along anymore, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And that was honestly, like, I don't want to say it was one of the hardest, but that was definitely, that lesson took a while to finally sink in. Because I remember like going to Shay, because like, this is happening. And she was like, let go. And I was like, no, I don't want to, because it was like something I could never like grasp or I can't even talk. I could never like figure out that concept. But once I finally took this person, I literally was like, erase on my chart, my business flourished. Like I found so many people, and like there's always this like stigma of like the dead third leg, like that whole thing. And once I finally let go of that person, I finally have so many emerging leaders on this leg of my chart now. And I am so proud of that. And it's because I had to let go of someone. And like another thing that I love is like most of the time, well, I say most of the time, sometimes when you let go of them, they're going to come back. Like I have had so many people recently be like, hey, like life happened, da da da. And I'm just like, hi sister, I'm here for you. Cause like they come back. And so I love that so much. And I'm glad that you said that though, because that was seriously so good. So this is one of the last questions I had. And oh my gosh, if anyone else has any questions for her, please just type them in the chat too. Oh, I have one. Taiki asked if you have your nudie tees take the color personality test.
Yes. I love doing that. That's like one of the first things I'll go through too. I'll send them the link to that, and I'll say, hey, when you get a chance, just take this as well. Just because I think I just think it's so interesting too. And it's crazy how everyone's just so different. So yeah, I definitely have them do the color test.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I love that thing. I'm so intrigued in it, but it's also because I'm green. That's like their favorite thing to learn about. So I love that. But this was like one of my last questions for you. And it's kind of like a broad question, but how do you just create leaders? Like, how do you just cultivate that community, I guess, like around the leadership?
So I really love this question because it does not come naturally. I mean, leadership is definitely a learned thing, but I do feel that it comes more natural to some than others. And I was not one of those people that ever was like, oh, I want to be in a leadership position, mainly just because I was like, oh, like, I'll just let someone else who feels more confident in that area just take control kind of thing. And so like in school and stuff, I never wanted to be like the cheer captain or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, I'm just fine over here. So, yeah, that's something I definitely had to learn for sure. But I think so for me, it's kind of like more relatable to people that are also uncomfortable in that area. But when it comes to leadership, you guys, so much of it is really you putting that belief into them. And because this is what Ashley exactly did to me is like, she was like, all right, Cortney, like you're going to do this. I believe in you. You can do that, step up to the plate. So what I'm doing is if I see someone that has a lot of potential and I want to work close with them, I will send them a voice message and I say something along the lines of like, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you because I'm looking to actually work super close with someone right now to help them get to, for example, to Ruby. I see so much potential in you. And I just know that if you and I work really close together, I think that we can do some incredible things together. Are you up for that? Is that a position you would like to be in? And so I always let them know that they're in that position for me. Just because when someone tells you that, if you're like me, if someone tells me that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're really relying on me. For one, they see a lot of potential in me. They see something that I don't see in me. And so you telling them that is an automatic thought in their mind of like, okay, wow, like I need to make sure I'm staying on top of things. I need to make sure I'm doing the things because she's expecting this from me. And so I always do that. I think that's like one of the biggest things. I'm making sure that they know that I see that potential within them and that they're in that position. From there, I'm also just like hyping them up. Like I said, I'm like, you're incredible. Like, let's do this. Like, let's go help other people do what you do. And I think it's like a lot of things too, just like getting on Zooms and learning how to do the things. Like, for example, like Shay, for example, she's like one of those people who it just came so naturally to. She was like, all right, tell me what to do. I'll go do it. But some people aren't like that. So, those people that aren't, you just kind of have to help give them that extra boost of confidence to put them in that position. And I think it's like something as you go along, it does get easier too when they realize it. But it is like kind of like, again, like those birdies in a nest. And like I remember Ashley even told me, she was like, it's like I let you out of the nest, like you're starting to do your own things. But other little things that you can be doing as well is, if you see a new leader that's just killing it, get them on a Zoom and let them host the Zoom. Let them host a power hour. Like help put them in those things that you want them to do as a leader for you. Have them get on with their newbie and go over their first 6 customers, helping them and just literally not telling them what to do, but say, hey, I think you'd be so incredible if you get on and you do this. And so it kind of just will naturally eventually start to come to them because it's like what they're doing. And it's one of those things like you just learn as you go, like anything in this business, until you're thrown out there, you just have to figure it out along the way. I always say you just have to fail forward. I've failed so many times as a leader and in this business, but I've learned every single step that I've failed forward. You know what I mean? So that's just what we all have to do. But yeah, I think it really is a lot up to you, really like putting that into their mind and just that belief and just shouting them out, making them feel so special and putting them in that position.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I remember like whenever I had quote unquote come back and Shay was like, hey, like, let's go Emerald. And because of one, I knew it was on a double chart because I am seriously so green. So when she said I need to go Emerald or something like that, I automatically thought, okay, I am her outside leg. And that was like the idea I gave to myself. And literally I worked so hard to be that person for her. And like she never once said, you're here, or wherever. I just kind of like gave that to myself. And I was like, she is never going to have to worry about my side of her chart. And then I wasn't even on that side. I was on a completely different part of her chart, but I still just like tried to be that person for her because I knew that like she was never going to have to worry about that. And so I love that you said that so much because it's just kind of that like feeling, I guess. And like I remember when I was talking to Danny one day like about my presidential chart and she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm your triple. And I was like, you're my triple, girlfriend. And she was like, okay, like I'm gonna do this. And it was just that like belief that you instill in people. And like it's not also just like, because half of me has always felt so like weird saying like, yeah, like you're a triple on the chart, girlfriend, you can pass me all you want, I don't care. But like it was just that feeling of like, okay, I know what I can do to help her, and like that's what I wanted to do. So I love that seriously so much. So that was kind of all the questions I had for you, but if anyone else has any, please throw them in the chat real quick. But do you just have any like last tips, best words, anything like that for us basically?
Yeah, so I was kind of like thinking of like a couple of things before this. So I've been doing Mastermind Thursdays every single week for like several months now. And Pam Souder gets on with us like once a month, and I always just take so much from her. And one thing that she was talking about is like, what are you manifesting into your business? And I think this is just so good for everyone to take because I know that she made such a good point. She said, why are some people's businesses exploding and some aren't? And I was like, that's such a good, like, if you just think about it, you guys, like, why are some people, you see them take off and then some aren't? And she's like, well, what are you manifesting into your business? What are you literally focusing on? You know what I mean? And so she was like, if you're focusing on, make sure you're not focusing on negative work. And I just love that so much because I think so many times it's easier to focus on what's not happening in our business and what's not going right and who's not working. And when you get that little, just simple little switch and you start focusing on what can happen, that's the difference between those people that you see whose businesses are exploding and those who aren't. So I just really want to talk about that because I was like, gosh, that's so good because there's days where I'm like, oh my gosh, am I not doing enough? I need to figure out TikTok. I need to figure out all these things. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I just need to focus on what I know I can do and manifest that into my business. And so really think about, this month, especially just going into the end of the year, like what are those things that you want your business to look like? and write them down and just get so clear on that. And just make sure that you're not, you're not manifesting the negative stuff. If there is negative stuff happening in your business, just make sure you're putting out the good stuff, the positive things, and the things that you really want to happen. So she was just saying that, and I was like, that is such a good point, because it's like there's no difference between me and whoever, but there's, but our minds, like our mindsets and how we look at things and what we're putting and what we're bringing into our business. And so figure out that. And then I was also listening to this guy, this podcast this morning, and he was talking about what you fear and avoid the most is what you need to do next. So if you're like feeling stuck in your business and you feel like you're not growing forward, ask yourself what it is that you're fearing and avoiding and putting off because you're scared of it, because it's uncomfortable to you. And then take a step forward in doing that, because that's like what's going to get you to that next level, because that's like the roadblock that's keeping you from getting there. And so that's another thing. I was like journaling today. I was like, okay, what's that thing like I've been avoiding or putting off that I can really work on to really get me to that next level. So I really liked that, because I was like, that's so true, because we all have those things that are just uncomfortable that we know we should be doing or that we could be doing more of, but we just don't, because we're like, oh, it's just not comfortable to us. And so figure that out and get really clear on that. But I mean, you guys just think about the last few months of the year. Like, you can just make it what you want. And I think that's what's so incredible about this, is that you get two choices. You can make it and look back and be like, dang, like I freaking kicked butt. Or you can look back and be like, dang, I wish I would have tried harder. And you're never going to regret putting too much work in, you guys. So figure out where you want to go and get really clear on that and get your mind in a good place and focus forward, regardless of what the end of the year looks like. Figure out what you can focus on and choose to focus on that and show up and just look, really manifest that and get so clear on that. But I just think September and October, I think those months, I always look forward to those months, because they're always just, they kick butt. They're just going into fall. Things just come into routine. I think that there's just going to be so many big things that happen within these next couple months too. So just really decide what you want that to look like for you guys. And yeah, I'm just ready. I'm ready for it.
Yes, I love that so much. Thank you so much for hopping on oh my gosh, can't even talk, hopping on with us tonight. I'm so grateful to have a little bit of your time. And I know I took so much from this. I literally took a whole page of notes. So I hope everyone else did too. But I cannot thank you enough. I'm going to go ahead and